She was halfway down the hospital hallway when the doctor grabbed her arm. Not too gently and not too kindly either. He pulled her into his office, shut, and then locked the door. Just immediately, he said 6 words that shattered 5 years of her life. Your husband isn't paralyzed. He never was. Her hands started shaking before her brain could catch up. Because 5 years earlier, she had quit her job. 5 years earlier, she had lifted him, bathed him, fed him, sacrificed everything. 5 years earlier, she had built her entire life around a lie. And the worst part? The doctor wasn't telling her to cry. He was telling her to call the police. Before we continue, can I ask you a quick question? Where in the world are you watching from right now? Comment below. We love seeing how far these stories travel, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe, because if powerful stories about truth, betrayal, and second chances matter to you, you're going to want to stay until the very end of this one. Now let's go back to the moment everything started to crack. The doctor didn't sit down. That alone was enough to make Lena Carter's stomach tighten. She had been in this office dozens of times over the last 5 years. Same neutral artwork on the walls. Same soft hum from the air conditioner. Same routine. Dr. Michael Reeves usually smiled, asked about progress, reassured her that healing wasn't linear. Today, he closed the door. Then he locked it. Mrs. Carter, he said, lowering his voice, I need you to hear me before you react. Lena clutched the strap of her handbag. Is Noah okay? Dr. Reeves didn't answer immediately. His jaw tightened. Then he said the sentence that would split her life in half. You need to call the police. The words made no sense. Not together. Not here. What? Lena whispered. Your husband isn't paralyzed, he said. He never was. The room seemed to tilt. The edges of the desk blurred. Lena felt herself sit without remembering how she got there. That's impossible, she said. I take care of him. I lift him. I bathe him. Dr. Reeves picked up his tablet and turned it toward her. Please watch. The video was grainy, time-stamped late at night. A hospital corridor came into view. Then a man stepped into frame. No wheelchair, no hesitation. Noah Carter walked down the hallway like someone who had never lost the ability to use his legs. His stride was smooth, confident. He stopped, checked his phone, stretched his back. Lena's breath caught in her throat. The camera angle shifted. Noah entered a therapy room reserved for equipment storage after hours. 2 minutes later, a woman followed. Lena recognized her instantly. Paige Holloway, Noah's physical therapist. The woman who had been in their home 3 times a week for years. The woman Lena paid, thanked, trusted. The video ended. Lena stared at the frozen image, her reflection faintly visible on the screen. How long? She asked, though she already knew the answer would hurt. Years, Dr. Reeves said carefully. I noticed inconsistencies recently. Muscle tone, reflex responses, things that don't happen after long-term paralysis. I checked the footage. He paused. Mrs. Carter, this is fraud. Disability fraud. Insurance fraud. And what he's done to you, this is criminal. Lena stood on shaking legs. Where is he? In the waiting area. She nodded once and walked out. Noah sat near the window in his wheelchair, scrolling through his phone. When he saw her, his expression shifted instantly into the familiar, helpless softness. Hey, babe, he said. Everything okay? You look stressed. Lena looked at him differently now. His shoulders were strong, his arms firm, his legs positioned just right on the footrests. This wasn't the body of a man who hadn't walked in 5 years. We're going home, she said. Something flickered in his eyes. Fear. Then it disappeared. Okay, he replied easily. She pushed the wheelchair herself, her hands steady, her mind screaming. The drive home was quiet. Noah talked about traffic, about a show he wanted to watch later. Lena nodded at the right moments, every familiar street passing like a reminder of what she had given up. At home, she helped him inside, lifted him, settled him on the couch. Her movements were precise, automatic. Lena, Noah said lightly, "You okay?" "I'm just tired," she replied. That part wasn't a lie. There had been a time, 5 years earlier, when Lena's life had been full. She had been a senior consultant at a branding firm downtown, respected, well-paid, always busy. She traveled. She hosted dinners. She laughed easily. Then came the accident. A minor collision. A hospital call. Panic. Noah had said he couldn't feel his legs. Doctors were confused. Tests showed nothing conclusive, but Noah insisted. Eventually, the wheelchair became permanent. Lena never questioned it. She reorganized her life around him, quit her job, worked from home, declined invitations, missed weddings, lost friends. She told herself this was love. Now, standing alone in the kitchen while Noah watched television in the next room, Lena felt something settle inside her. Not anger. Not yet. Clarity. She picked up her phone and typed a message to her sister. "I need you. Tomorrow. Don't call." Then she deleted it and rewrote it more carefully. She wasn't going to confront Noah. Not tonight. Not until she knew everything. From the living room, Noah laughed at something on TV. Lena leaned against the counter, her reflection staring back at her in the darkened window. 5 years of her life had been a lie, and the man who thought he had fooled everyone had no idea what was coming. The next morning, Lena woke before the alarm. For a moment, she lay still, listening to the quiet rhythm of the house. Noah's breathing came from beside her, slow and even, the sound of someone completely at ease. That alone made her chest tighten. 5 years of sleeping beside him, of waking up in the middle of the night to check if he needed help, of setting alarms for medications he never truly needed. She slipped out of bed carefully and went into the kitchen. The kettle clicked on. Her hands didn't shake. That surprised her. By the time Noah called out her name from the bedroom, Lena had already decided how this would go. Calm, normal, exactly the way he expected. "Lena," he called, "can you help me?" She walked back into the bedroom and smiled. The same smile she'd worn for years. She helped him sit up, moved with practiced efficiency, lifted him into the wheelchair without hesitation. "You didn't sleep well?" he asked, watching her closely. "Just had a lot on my mind," she said. He nodded, satisfied. "You do too much. I tell you that all the time." The audacity of it nearly broke her composure. At breakfast, Noah talked about a documentary he wanted to watch later. He mentioned Paige casually, said she might stop by in the afternoon for an extra session. Lena's jaw tightened for half a second. "That's fine," she replied. "I have errands anyway." He smiled, relieved. "You're the best." She cleared the dishes and left the house before he could see the flicker of disgust cross her face. Her sister arrived an hour later. Maya didn't knock. She walked straight in, eyes scanning Lena's face the moment she stepped through the door. "What happened?" she asked. Lena didn't ease into it. She didn't soften the blow. "He can walk," she said. "He's been lying for 5 years." Maya froze. "What?" "The doctor showed me footage. Hospital cameras. He walks around like nothing's wrong. And Paige, his therapist, she's involved." Maya sank onto the chair. "That's insane. Are you sure?" "I've never been more sure of anything." They sat in silence for a moment. Then Maya leaned forward. "What are you going to do?" Lena met her eyes. "I'm going to prove it." Maya nodded slowly. "Then you're not doing it alone." That afternoon, Lena installed the first camera. It was small, discreet. Maya had helped her choose it online, walking her through placement with the calm efficiency of someone who knew how investigations worked. Living room corner, hallway angle, bedroom, but only facing the door, nothing else. "This isn't about spying," Maya said quietly. "It's about truth." Lena didn't respond. She already knew. That night, after Noah fell asleep, Lena sat alone in the guest room with her laptop open, waiting. At 2:13 a.m., the living room camera activated. Noah rolled into view in his wheelchair, phone glowing faintly in the dark. He sat there, for a moment, scrolling. Then, casually, like it was the most normal thing in the world, he stood up. Lena's breath caught. He stretched his legs, rolled his shoulders, and walked into the kitchen. Opened the fridge, grabbed a drink, drank it standing up, relaxed, comfortable. Then he returned to the wheelchair and sat back down, like nothing had happened. Lena watched the clip 3 times. The ease of it was what hurt the most. Over the next few days, the footage piled up. Noah pacing during phone calls. Noah standing to reach high shelves. Noah exercising lightly when he thought no one was watching. Each clip chipped away at the man Lena thought she knew, revealing someone colder, more calculated. The worst discovery came late one evening. Lena was reviewing messages on the shared phone account when she saw a name she didn't recognize. Paige. Hundreds of messages. Calls late at night. Gaps filled with silence only when Lena was home. She opened one. She still doesn't know. "You're good at this." Another. "Once we move, it's over. Just a little longer." Lena closed her eyes. 5 years of her life hadn't just been stolen. They had been planned away from her, piece by piece. The next morning, Paige arrived as scheduled. She smiled brightly when Lena opened the door. "Hi, Lena. How's he been feeling?" "Much better," Lena said evenly. "Thanks to you." Paige hesitated, just a fraction. "That's good to hear." Lena watched as she worked with Noah, her hands professional, her voice soft. She noted the way they exchanged glances when they thought she wasn't looking. After Paige left, Noah cleared his throat. "She's been amazing, hasn't she?" "She has," Lena replied. "We're lucky." That night, Lena called the police. Officer Renee Walsh listened without interruption as Lena laid everything out. The footage, the payments, the affair. "This isn't uncommon," Walsh said carefully, "but it is serious. We'll need evidence, a lot of it." "I have that," Lena said, "and I can get more." "Good," Walsh replied, "because once he knows you know, everything changes." Lena hung up and stared at the darkened living room. She wasn't afraid of Noah finding out. She was afraid of wasting one more second pretending she didn't already see the truth. By the end of the week, Lena knew 2 things for certain. Noah and Paige were planning to leave, and she was going to let them believe they could. Lena didn't sleep much after that. Every sound in the house felt louder now. Every movement from Noah's side of the bed made her body tense, not from fear, but from the effort it took to keep pretending. During the day, she moved through the house like a familiar ghost, doing everything she'd always done, saying the same reassuring words, answering the same questions. At night, she became someone else entirely. She watched, she recorded, she listened. Noah grew bolder. One evening, Lena stood in the kitchen rinsing dishes while Noah sat in the living room. His phone buzzed. He didn't bother lowering his voice this time. "I told you, just give it a little more time," he said. "She's tired. She won't question anything now." Lena's grip tightened around the plate. "I'm serious," he continued, a faint edge of irritation slipping into his voice. "Once the paperwork clears, we're gone. Different state, fresh start." He paused, listening. "No, she won't come with us," he said flatly. "That was never the plan." Lena turned off the sink and walked back into the living room. "Who was that?" she asked lightly. Noah startled, then smiled. "Just a guy from the insurance office. They keep messing things up." She nodded. "Of course they do." Later that night, Lena met Maya at a quiet cafe across town. They sat in a corner booth, steam rising from untouched mugs. "He's planning to leave," Lena said. "With her." Maya swore under her breath. "Do you know when?" "Soon. I don't have a date yet." Maya leaned in. "Then we let him think he's winning." Lena looked at her. "That's what I was thinking." Over the next 2 weeks, Lena became meticulous. She requested old records, insurance statements, therapy invoices. She photographed receipts, saved emails, backed everything up twice. She stopped canceling Paige's sessions and even suggested extra ones, smiling politely as she paid. Paige didn't question it. One afternoon, as Paige packed up her equipment, she hesitated at the door. "You're handling all of this incredibly well," she said. "Not everyone could." Lena met her gaze. "You do what you have to do for the people you love." Paige's smile faltered for half a second. "Yes," she said. "Exactly." The cameras captured everything. Noah standing at the bathroom sink, shaving without support. Noah lifting boxes in the garage. Noah pacing the bedroom during whispered calls. The betrayal deepened with every clip, but something else grew alongside it. Lena's resolve. She wasn't reacting anymore. She was planning. Officer Walsh checked in regularly, careful not to rush her. "We're building a solid case," she said during one call, "but I need you to be patient." "I can be," Lena replied. "I've had a lot of practice." The call that changed everything came late on a Thursday night. Maya didn't bother with pleasantries. "I think I found something." They met at Maya's apartment, spreading documents across the table. "He's been moving money," Maya said. "Small amounts at first, then larger ones. All into an account you don't have access to." Lena stared at the numbers. "He's been planning this for a while." "And there's more," Maya added. "A one-way ticket search, 2 seats." Lena exhaled slowly. "How much time?" "Maybe a couple of weeks." That was enough. The next morning, Lena suggested a trip. "Maybe we should get away for a few days," she said over breakfast. "Change of scenery." Noah's eyes lit up too quickly. "Really?" She smiled. "We deserve it, don't we?" He nodded eagerly. Yeah, we do." That night, Lena sent everything to Officer Walsh. "This is it," she said quietly into the phone. "He's making his move." There was a pause. "Then we're ready." The final confrontation didn't come the way Lena had imagined it. It happened on an ordinary afternoon. She was folding laundry when Noah rolled into the room, his expression unusually tense. "Lena," he said, "we need to talk." She kept folding. "About what?" "I don't think we should see Paige anymore." Her hand stilled. "Why?" He avoided her eyes. "It's just complicated." Lena set the towel down and turned to face him. "Complicated how?" He sighed, irritation flashing across his face. "I don't like the way she looks at me." The lie was almost laughable. "Well," Lena said calmly, "if it makes you uncomfortable, we can stop." He studied her closely. "You're being very agreeable lately." She smiled. "I'm just tired of fighting things I can't change." That night, Noah didn't bother with the wheelchair. The camera caught it all. He stood up in the living room, stretched, and began packing a suitcase. Paige's voice echoed through the phone on speaker. "We're really doing this," she said, breathless. "Yes," Noah replied. "It's finally happening." Lena watched the footage with Maya beside her. Maya shook her head. "He's not even trying anymore." Lena closed the laptop. "He won't have to." The next morning, Lena helped Noah into the wheelchair like always. She kissed his forehead before leaving for the grocery store. "Don't forget your meds," she said sweetly. "I won't," he replied, barely looking up. She didn't go to the store. She drove straight to the police station. By the time she returned home that evening, everything was in place. Noah sat in the living room, suitcase hidden behind the couch. He smiled when he saw her. "You're late," he said. She met his gaze, calm and steady. "I know," Lena replied. "I had to make a stop." Lena set her keys on the counter and took off her jacket slowly, deliberately, as if this were just another evening in the life they'd shared for years. Noah watched her too closely. His smile didn't quite reach his eyes. "What kind of stop?" he asked. "Just tying up loose ends," she said. "You hungry? I can make pasta." "No," he replied quickly. "I'm not feeling great." She nodded, as if that made sense, and walked past him into the bedroom. Her heart hammered, but her face stayed calm. The suitcase was gone from behind the couch. That told her everything. He was close, too close. That night, she lay beside him, listening to his breathing, counting the seconds between each rise and fall of his chest. She wondered if he ever felt even a flicker of guilt, if lying beside her after all this required effort, or if deception had become as natural to him as breathing. Around 2:14 a.m., he slipped out of bed. The camera caught him perfectly. He stood, steady and confident, and padded down the hallway. He opened the closet and pulled the suitcase free, laying clothes inside with practiced efficiency. He checked his phone, smiling at a message Lena would never see. She watched the footage the next morning with Officer Walsh sitting beside her at the kitchen table. "That's more than enough," Walsh said quietly. "We can move today." Lena swallowed. "Today? If we wait, he could disappear." Lena nodded. "Then let's not wait." She went about her morning routine as usual. Made coffee, toasted bread, helped Noah into his chair. Her hands didn't shake. "You seem upbeat," Noah said cautiously. "I slept well," she replied. "For once." He laughed. "Must be nice." At noon, Paige arrived unannounced. Lena felt a flash of anger but kept her voice even. "I thought we canceled." Paige shrugged. "I was nearby." Noah's jaw tightened. "We talked about this." Paige ignored him and turned to Lena. "Is everything okay?" Lena studied her carefully. "Why wouldn't it be?" Paige hesitated. "I don't know. You just seem different." "I am," Lena said softly. "People change." Paige left shortly after, clearly unsettled. An hour later, the knock came. 3 firm raps. Noah frowned. "Are you expecting someone?" Lena stood. "Actually, yes." She opened the door. Officer Walsh stood there with 2 other officers. Calm. Professional. "Noah Carter?" Walsh asked. Noah froze. "What's this about?" "Sir," Walsh said evenly, "we have reason to believe you've been committing disability and insurance fraud." Noah laughed. Too loud, too fast. "This is ridiculous. I can't even stand." Lena stepped forward. "Yes, you can." The silence that followed was deafening. Noah's eyes snapped to her. "Lena, what are you doing?" "I'm telling the truth," she said. Finally, Walsh nodded to one of the officers. "Sir, please stand up." "No," Noah snapped. "I won't." Walsh's voice remained calm. "If you don't, we'll assist you." Noah's face twisted with rage, then fear. Slowly, deliberately, he pushed himself up from the wheelchair. He stood. Lena exhaled, a sound that felt like it had been trapped in her chest for 5 years. One officer cuffed him gently. Another read him his rights. "You ruined everything," Noah hissed at her as they led him away. She met his gaze without flinching. "No, you did." As they took him outside, Lena's phone buzzed. "Maya, I'm so proud of you." Lena sank onto the couch, her legs trembling now that she no longer had to pretend to be strong. That night, the house felt strangely quiet. No television, no forced conversations, just space, freedom. She packed 1 box, just one. The rest could wait. The next morning, Lena woke up before the sun. For the first time in years, there was no routine pulling her out of bed. No alarm timed around medication schedules, no checklist taped to the fridge. Just quiet. The kind that felt unfamiliar, almost dangerous, like stepping onto solid ground after years at sea. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. "Maya, they moved him last night," the message read. "Holding facility downtown. Paige was picked up too." Lena closed her eyes and let the information settle. Paige. The name still burned, but it burned differently now. Less like a wound, more like a scar. She got dressed and drove aimlessly for 20 minutes before realizing where she was headed. The design studio. It was a small space she'd rented years ago and never let go of. Even when money was tight, she'd subleased it, barely used it, convinced herself it was impractical. The sign was faded, the windows dusty, but when she unlocked the door, something inside her steadied. This place had belonged to her before everything else. She sat at the desk and opened her laptop. Emails flooded in. Missed opportunities. Old clients checking in. Automated reminders she'd ignored for years. She didn't answer them all. She didn't need to. She started with one. By noon, she was meeting with an attorney recommended by Officer Walsh. A woman named Claire Jensen. Sharp, composed, eyes that missed nothing. "Criminal charges are already moving," Claire said, scanning the documents. "But you also have grounds for a civil case." "I don't care about revenge," Lena said. Claire looked up. "Good, because this isn't revenge. This is restitution." The word felt right. That afternoon, the story broke. Local news, then regional. A headline Lena didn't click but couldn't ignore. Man accused of faking disability for 5 years. Her phone rang nonstop. Old friends, distant relatives, people who had praised her patience, her sacrifice, her devotion. "I had no idea," they all said. Neither did she. That evening, Maya came over with takeout and wine. "You okay?" Maya asked. Lena considered the question. "I don't know yet." "That's allowed." They ate in silence for a while. "He's already blaming you," Maya said finally, "saying you were controlling, that you exaggerated." Lena laughed softly. "Of course he is." "Does it bother you?" She shook her head. "It would have once. But now? It just confirms everything." Days passed quickly after that. Statements, depositions, paperwork. Lena told the truth so many times it began to feel like muscle memory. Each retelling stripped the story of its power over her. Noah tried to call. She didn't answer. Paige sent a message through an attorney. Apologies, explanations, justifications. Lena deleted it. One evening, Officer Walsh called. "They're offering a plea," she said. "He'd avoid trial, reduce sentence." Lena's jaw tightened. And the truth? It would stay mostly buried. Lena stared out the window at the city lights. "No." There was a pause. Then, "I thought you'd say that." The trial date was set, and with it came the backlash. Online comments dissected her life, her marriage, her face. Some believed her, some didn't. "She stayed 5 years? That's honor. She just wants money. She looks fine to me." Maya wanted to respond. Lena told her not to. "Let them talk," she said. "I'm done explaining myself." The courtroom was cold the first day of trial. Noah didn't look at her. He sat straight-backed, his hands folded, his expression carefully neutral. Gone was the helpless man the world had known. This version was sharper, harder. The prosecution laid out the evidence piece by piece. Footage, financials, medical testimony. Lena listened, numb. When she took the stand, her voice didn't shake. "Did you ever suspect your husband was lying?" the prosecutor asked. "No," Lena said. "I trusted him." "And what did that trust cost you?" She paused. "Everything." The courtroom was silent. Noah's lawyer tried to rattle her. Suggested resentment, burnout, financial motivation. "Isn't it true," he said, "that you were tired of being a caregiver?" "Yes," Lena replied evenly. "But that doesn't make lying acceptable, and yet you stayed." "I stayed because I loved him, and because I believed him. Those are not crimes." The jury watched closely. Paige testified next. Her voice wavered. Her story didn't. She admitted to everything. When it was over, Lena sat in the hallway, hands clasped tightly in her lap. Maya squeezed her shoulder. "No matter what happens, you already won." The verdict came 2 days later, guilty, on all counts. Lena didn't cry. She felt light. Sentencing followed weeks later. Noah was led away in cuffs. He looked back once, searching for something, sympathy maybe. He didn't find it. Outside the courthouse, cameras waited. Lena gave one statement. "This isn't about me," she said. It's about the truth and about rebuilding. Then she walked away. If you're still watching, take a second to like, subscribe, and share where you're watching from. Because Lena's story doesn't end with a verdict. It begins with what she builds next. Lena didn't go home after the sentencing. She drove past the old house without slowing down, past the grocery store where she used to buy food Noah never really needed, past the pharmacy that knew her by name. Instead, she kept going until the city thinned out and the road opened up. She rolled the windows down and let the cold air burn her lungs, a reminder that she was still here, that she could still choose direction. She pulled into a quiet overlook, just as the sun dipped low, staining the sky with gold and slate. For 5 years, her life had been defined by someone else's limits. Now, standing alone, she realized how much space there actually was. Her phone buzzed. A message from Claire, the attorney. "Civil case moving forward. We'll recover what we can. Call me when you're ready." When you're ready. That phrase followed her home that night, into the empty bedroom, into the silence that no longer felt heavy. She slept without dreams for the first time in years. The weeks that followed were busy in a different way. Not frantic, not reactive. Intentional. Lena sold the house. Not immediately, but decisively. She didn't argue with herself about memories or sunk costs. She walked through each room once, acknowledged what it had been, and let it go. The wheelchair went first, then the medical equipment, then the ramps. Each removal felt like another layer peeling away. She moved into a modern apartment downtown. Glass, light, clean lines. No reminders, no echoes. Maya helped her unpack. "This feels like you," Maya said, looking around. "Not someone waiting." Lena smiled. "That's the point." Work came back slowly, then all at once. An old client reached out. Then another. Lena found herself sitting at her desk late into the night, not because she had to, but because she wanted to. Her hands remembered the work, the rhythm, the confidence. She didn't talk about Noah, not at meetings, not at dinners. She refused to let him be the headline of her life. But the world hadn't moved on yet. Messages kept coming. Interview requests, advocacy groups, people who wanted her story packaged neatly into inspiration or warning. She declined most of them, until one email caught her attention. A nonprofit focused on caregiver burnout and fraud prevention wanted her to speak. Not about the case, but about recovery. She thought about it for a long time. Then she said yes. The auditorium was full. Lena stood backstage, listening to the murmur of the crowd. She wasn't nervous. She was focused. When she stepped onto the stage, she didn't lead with the betrayal. She started with a question. Has anyone here ever ignored their own instincts because loving someone felt easier than doubting them? Hands went up. She spoke calmly, clearly, about erosion, about how lies don't always arrive loudly, about how good people get trapped not by weakness, but by loyalty. When she finished, the applause was quiet at first. Then it grew. Afterward, people lined up to speak with her. Some cried. Some thanked her. One woman simply hugged her and whispered, "You helped me leave." That night, Lena sat alone on her balcony, city lights stretching out below. She thought about how close she'd come to disappearing into someone else's story, forever. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She let it ring. A voicemail appeared moments later. Noah's voice. Hoarse, controlled. "I know you won't talk to me, but I just want you to know. You didn't have to destroy everything." Lena deleted it without listening again. Destroy! The word made her laugh softly. She hadn't destroyed anything. She'd exposed it. The civil case settled quietly months later. The numbers were substantial, but that wasn't the victory. The victory was the acknowledgement, the record, the finality. Lena used part of the settlement to fund a small program through the nonprofit she'd spoken for. Legal resources, counseling referrals, emergency grants for caregivers who needed a way out. She didn't brand it with her name. She didn't need to. One evening, as she locked up her office, someone waited by the elevator. A man she didn't recognize at first. "You probably don't remember me," he said. "I was on the jury." Lena paused. "I remember all of you." He nodded. "I just wanted to say, you changed how I see things. My sister's been caregiving for years. I never questioned it. I will now." "Gently," Lena said. "Question gently." He smiled. "Thank you." As the elevator doors closed, Lena caught her reflection in the mirrored wall. She looked lighter. Not because life had become easy, but because it was hers again. Lena didn't expect love to feel quiet when it returned. She'd imagined once that if she ever trusted again, it would arrive loudly, dramatically, like proof that everything she endured had been worth it. Instead, it showed up in small, almost invisible ways. It showed up in routine. On Tuesday mornings, she started going to the same coffee shop near her apartment. The barista learned her order by the third visit. Oat milk latte, no sugar. They exchanged nods, nothing more. That was enough. It showed up in evenings spent working late, music playing softly, the hum of the city outside her windows. No one waiting for her to stop. No one depending on her exhaustion. And then, one evening, it showed up in the elevator. She was distracted, scrolling through an email, when a man stepped in just before the doors closed. He wore a navy jacket, slightly rumpled, like someone who didn't overthink appearances. "Sorry," he said, pressing the button for the lobby. "Didn't mean to rush you." "It's fine," Lena replied automatically. The elevator moved. Silence settled. Comfortable, not awkward. "You work late," he said, nodding toward her laptop bag. "Usually," she replied. "It's quieter at night." He smiled slightly. "Same. I'm on 22. She glanced at him then. Really looked. Calm eyes, open expression. Nothing performative. "I'm Lena," she said. "Evan." The doors opened. They walked out together. "See you around," he said, not pushing, not lingering. She watched him cross the lobby and disappear into the night, surprised by the faint warmth in her chest. Over the next few weeks, they crossed paths more often. In the elevator, in the lobby. Once, at the coffee shop. They talked about work, about favorite cities, about nothing that mattered too much. He never asked about her past. She never offered. One night, after a long meeting, Lena sat alone on her couch, scrolling through photos on her phone. Not old ones, new ones. The view from her balcony, a half-finished design, a sunset caught between buildings. She realized something then. She wasn't documenting survival anymore. She was documenting living. The nonprofit program expanded quietly. Word spread. More caregivers reached out. Lena listened more than she spoke. She learned how many stories echoed her own. Different details, same erosion. One message stayed with her. "I thought love meant staying," the woman had written. "I didn't know it could mean leaving." Lena saved it. Months passed. The city shifted seasons. Summer faded into crisp mornings. Leaves scattered along sidewalks. Lena now walked without rushing. One evening, Evan asked, "Do you want to get dinner sometime?" The question was simple. No pressure layered beneath it. She didn't answer right away. He noticed. "No worries," he said gently. "Just thought I'd ask." "I do," she said. "I just need to go slow." He nodded. "I don't know any other way." Dinner was easy. Conversation flowed without effort. They talked about favorite books, bad movies, places they'd never been but wanted to see. He didn't reach for her hand. She appreciated that. When he walked her back to her apartment, he stopped at the door. "Thank you," he said. "For tonight." "Thank you," she replied. They stood there a moment longer than necessary. Then he smiled. "Good night, Lena." She closed the door and leaned against it, heart racing, not from fear, but from possibility. The civil case concluded fully not long after. The final paperwork arrived in an unremarkable envelope. Lena read it once, signed where indicated, and filed it away. Closure didn't feel cinematic. It felt complete. She took a weekend trip alone shortly after. Just a small coastal town. Long walks, quiet mornings, no agenda. Standing by the water, she thought about the version of herself who had once believed love meant disappearing. She whispered aloud, "You survived." And then, softer, "Thank you." Back home, Lena found a small package at her door. No return address. Inside was a handwritten note. "You probably don't want this, but I thought you should know. I've started therapy. Real therapy. I see now what I did. I won't contact you again." She folded the note and placed it in a drawer. Not forgiveness. Release. Life continued. Evan became part of it slowly. Movie nights, shared meals, silence that felt safe. One night, sitting on her balcony, he asked quietly, "Do you ever feel like your life split in two?" She considered it. "No," she said. "It feels more like it finally started." He nodded, understanding without needing details. Lena didn't know what the future held, but she knew this. She would never again confuse endurance with love. She would never again shrink to make someone else comfortable. She would never again ignore her instincts to preserve a lie. Lena didn't tell Evan everything at once. She learned that trust, real trust, wasn't built by confession dumps or dramatic revelations. It was built by consistency, by showing up as the same person today as she was yesterday, by allowing someone to see her choose herself again and again. Some nights, she still woke suddenly, heart racing, certain she'd forgotten something important, a medication, a form, a responsibility that didn't exist anymore. When that happened, she'd sit up, breathe, and remind herself gently, "You're not late. You're free." Evan never asked why she sometimes needed space. He noticed, adjusted, stayed steady. That steadiness mattered. One evening, while they cooked dinner together, Evan casually mentioned his sister. "She's been caring for her husband since his injury," he said, chopping vegetables. "It's complicated." Lena froze for half a second, then relaxed. "How so?" "She's exhausted, defends him constantly, says she's fine, but she's not." He glanced at Lena. "I don't know how to help her without making it worse." Lena set the pan down. "You don't confront her," she said quietly. "You support her. You give her an exit that doesn't feel like betrayal." Evan nodded slowly. "That's what I thought." She didn't tell him why she knew. Not yet. The nonprofit reached a milestone that fall. 100 caregivers helped. Legal interventions, safe exits, therapy access, quiet victories no one would ever headline. Lena stood at the back of the small office during the celebration, watching people talk, laugh, exist again. Maya joined her, glass in hand. "You did this." "We did," Lena corrected. Maya studied her. "You're different." Lena smiled. "I hope so." News of Noah surfaced once more, briefly. An appeal denied, sentence upheld. The headline barely registered. It wasn't her story anymore. One night, Evan finally asked. They were lying on the couch, lights low, rain tapping softly against the windows. "You don't have to answer," he said, "but did someone hurt you?" Lena closed her eyes. "Yes," she said. He waited. "I trusted someone who lied to me for a very long time," she continued. "It cost me years, but I found my way back." He turned toward her. "I'm glad you did." She looked at him then, really looked. "So am I." She told him the rest slowly, over weeks, over moments when it felt right. He listened without interrupting, without trying to fix anything. When she finished, he said only one thing. "That wasn't love." "No," Lena agreed. "But this is how I learned what love isn't." The holidays came quietly. No forced gatherings, no performative joy. just intentional moments. Lena hosted a small dinner. Maya, 2 colleagues, Evan. Laughter filled the apartment in a way it never had before. Later, as she cleared plates, she caught herself smiling for no reason at all. The past didn't haunt her anymore. It informed her. She received a letter one morning from a woman she didn't know. "I left last week," it read. "Your talk gave me the courage. I don't know what comes next, but I know I'm alive again." Lena pressed the paper to her chest. This mattered. The following spring, Evan invited her on a trip. Nothing extravagant, just a few days away. Mountains, quiet trails, fresh air. Standing at the edge of a lookout, Lena felt something settle inside her. She wasn't running anymore. She wasn't proving anything. She was choosing. Evan reached for her hand. She took it. They're about ownership. Lena didn't rush the next chapter. For the first time in her adult life, she understood that momentum didn't mean speed. It meant direction. And she finally trusted her sense of it. Spring turned into summer. The city softened. Windows stayed open longer. The nonprofit expanded into a second shared office space, modest but warm, filled with donated furniture and quiet determination. Lena spent 2 mornings a week there now, not as a savior, not as a symbol, but as someone who listened. She learned to listen differently, not for what people said, but for what they avoided. One afternoon, a woman named Rachel sat across from her, hands folded tightly in her lap. "He says I'm overreacting," Rachel whispered, "that it's temporary, that I just need to be patient." Lena nodded. "What do you feel in your body when he says that?" Rachel hesitated. "Small." "That matters," Lena said gently. "Your body notices before your mind can." Rachel cried then, quietly, as if ashamed of the sound. Lena didn't interrupt. She'd learned silence was sometimes the greatest kindness. That evening, Lena walked home slowly, letting the city wrap around her. She thought about how close she'd come to never learning that her own instincts were trustworthy, how dangerous it was to teach people to doubt themselves in the name of love. At home, Evan was cooking. Music played low. He looked up and smiled when she entered. "You look tired," he said. "I am," she replied. "But it's the good kind." They ate together at the counter, feet brushing, conversation unforced. Later, curled together on the couch, Evan said, "My sister called today." Lena stiffened slightly, then relaxed. "How is she?" "She left," he said. "Just for a week. Space. She said she needed to think." Lena closed her eyes. "That's brave." "She asked about you," he added. "I told her she could reach out if she wanted." Lena nodded. "I'm here." That night, Lena dreamed. Not of the past. Of a long road stretching forward, unmarked but open. She woke with a sense of calm she didn't question. The call from Claire came weeks later. "The last asset's cleared," she said. "That chapter is officially closed." Lena thanked her and ended the call without ceremony. She didn't mark the day, didn't toast it, didn't post about it. Closure didn't need witnesses. Evan watched her from the kitchen. "That was it." She nodded. "That was it." He stepped closer. "How do you feel?" She thought for a moment. Unburdened. They stood there in silence, sunlight spilling across the floor. Later that week, Lena received an email from a publisher. Someone had forwarded her talk. They wanted her to write. Not a memoir of pain, a book about recovery, about rebuilding identity after long-term emotional erosion. She stared at the screen for a long time. Then she typed back, "Yes, but on my terms." Writing was harder than she expected. Not because of the memories, but because of the restraint. She refused to sensationalize, refused to center herself as a hero. She wrote about systems, patterns, the quiet ways people disappear while still breathing. She wrote about choice, about how strength didn't always look like endurance. Sometimes it looked like walking away. The book took shape slowly, honestly. One night, exhausted, she closed her laptop and leaned back, staring at the ceiling. Evan looked up from his own work. Too much? She smiled faintly. Just enough. When the book released, it didn't explode. It spread. One reader at a time. One message, one quiet thank you. That felt right. On a warm evening near the end of summer, Lena and Evan walked through the park near her apartment. Children laughed. Dogs pulled at leashes. Life moved forward around them. Do you ever think about how close you came to staying? Evan asked. Lena considered it. I think about how close I came to forgetting who I was, and now I know, she said, and I won't lose that again. They stopped walking. Evan turned toward her, something careful in his expression. I want to ask you something, he said. She didn't panic. That alone felt like progress. Yes, she said softly. Not today, he added quickly, smiling. Just someday. She smiled back. Someday sounds good. Lena learned that endings rarely announce themselves. They don't arrive with dramatic music or perfect timing. They arrive quietly, disguised as ordinary days that feel lighter than the ones before them. The morning Evan asked her to marry him was one of those days. There was no ring at first, no speech rehearsed in advance. Just the two of them sitting at the small kitchen table, coffee growing cold between them as sunlight poured through the windows. I've been thinking about something, Evan said carefully. Lena looked up from her mug. That usually means something important. He smiled. It usually does. He took a breath. I don't want to rescue you. I don't want to complete you. I don't even want to fix anything. I just want to walk next to you every day, if you'll let me. Her chest tightened, not with fear, but with recognition. This isn't a proposal, he continued. It's an invitation. You don't owe me an answer or a timeline. Lena reached across the table and took his hand. I spent years thinking love meant staying no matter what, she said. Then I thought love meant leaving. Now I know love means choosing, with clarity, not fear. He waited, always waited. Yes, she said. I choose you. He laughed softly, relief and joy mixing together. Later that evening, when they stood on the balcony watching the city lights come alive, he slipped a simple ring onto her finger. Nothing extravagant, nothing performative, just right. The wedding came months later. Small, intentional, no spectacle. Maya stood beside Lena, eyes shining. Colleagues from the nonprofit filled the seats. A few women Lena had helped over the years sat quietly near the back, faces open, hopeful. Lena wore a sleek dress that moved when she did, not something that demanded stillness. When she walked toward Evan, she felt grounded, present, whole. Her vows were simple. I promise to never abandon myself again, she said, and to love you without losing who I am. Evan's voice was steady when he replied, I promise to honor the woman you are, not the story you survived. There were no dramatic speeches afterward. Just laughter, music, shared food, and the kind of joy that doesn't need witnesses to be real. Life after the wedding didn't change overnight. That was the best part. Lena still worked, still listened, still woke sometimes before dawn, heart racing for no reason at all. Healing wasn't linear. It never had been. But now, when she reached for reassurance, it was there. The nonprofit grew steadily. Grants came in, partnerships formed. Caregivers found exits they hadn't believed possible. Lena never positioned herself as the face of it. She preferred to stay just slightly off-center, where the work could breathe. Her book continued to travel quietly, passed from hand to hand, reader to reader. She received messages from places she'd never been. I thought I was weak. I thought it was my fault. I thought staying meant love. Each message reminded her why truth mattered. One afternoon, while reorganizing a filing cabinet, Lena found an old notebook. Her handwriting filled the pages. Lists, schedules, reminders. Every inch of space accounted for. Every line someone else's need. She flipped to the last page. There was nothing written there. She closed the notebook and set it aside. That chapter was finished. Years later, on a calm evening, Lena stood at a podium once more. The room was full, but she wasn't nervous. She wasn't proving anything now. "People often ask me how I survived," she said. "That's the wrong question. Survival is instinct. The better question is how I chose to live afterward." She spoke about boundaries, about listening inward, about how courage didn't always roar. Sometimes it whispered, "This isn't right." When she finished, the applause was warm, unhurried. Afterward, a young woman approached her, eyes uncertain. "I think something's wrong," the woman said. "But I'm scared to be wrong." Lena smiled gently. "You don't need certainty to honor yourself. You just need honesty." That night, Lena went home to Evan, to the quiet comfort of a life built deliberately. They cooked dinner together, talked about nothing and everything. As she washed the dishes, Lena caught her reflection in the window. She looked peaceful, not because the past no longer existed, but because it no longer defined her. She had loved deeply. She had been deceived. She had lost years. And she had gained herself. That was the real ending. That was the real victory. If this story moved you, if it reminded you of your own strength or someone you love, take a moment to like this video, subscribe for more stories like this, and share where you're watching from. These stories travel farther than we think. And sometimes they reach exactly the person who needs them most. Because freedom doesn't always arrive loudly. Sometimes it arrives when you finally choose yourself, and everything begins there. Thank you for watching. Until the next story, stay strong, stay hopeful, stay inspired.